Okay, guys, so it has been a bit of a terrible evening after last night's streams. Basically, a skunk snuck onto my patio, and then all three of my dogs were sprayed, so that was fun. My wife also has bronchitis, so, you know, it is what it is. So if I'm a little more scatterbrained than usual, you're going to have to forgive me. Today is the 7th. You guys know how this works. You put your questions in the chat. I will answer them, and if I have to, I will riff a bit. But I think we all know I am not very good at that. So let's get started. JB, while using the extender, I have to put the bottom of the base on the nutsack and not under it, and I feel better stretch with lower tension. Is this real or placebo? So let me read that. I have the bottom of the base on the nutsack. So you don't really want to put your balls in front of the extender, if that's what I understand you're saying. You want to have it so that way your balls are being pressed into your pelvis by the extender, so that way the skin stretches properly. Now, if you're feeling a better stretch with lower tension, that's actually probably the skin stretching more than anything else, because that actually has the stretch receptors, like the specific nerve endings to feel that. So it's more likely that than like you're getting a better session from it, but it's possible, but you know. So Hitman, what are my thoughts on NAD plus for PE? I actually don't know much about it. I did skim over it briefly before this. Seems to be some kind of antioxidant. Any antioxidant's good in general for aging and, you know, healthy tissues, but like it's not going to impact PE all that much. And he got the lotion yesterday, the whole container, and the contents was inside. It was harder than my whole life, probably because it was frozen solid. Yeah, so we have this issue since we use like no preservatives or anything like that with the current version of this lotion, that it literally will freeze below, like, let's say 40 degrees, because like that's the temperature point. Wait, no, because technically it's a solid already. It would be just hard as fuck below 40 degrees, even 60 degrees. And then it actually melts upwards of 92 degrees. So like in the summer, I can't really ship it to Arizona because of how hot it gets in those trucks. So yeah, it's no fun. Double Dragons. How long of a break does it take for growth hormone in the penis to reset in order to continue making gains? So there's a difference between length and girth. Granted, I've heard girth takes longer. So first, it's not so much that you have to reset for the growth hormones in the penis. It's more so that you either have systemic stress into the penis. That would make it harder for you to grow in general. Or two, that your strength adaptation is so great at this point that it's going to be impossible to really do it in a reasonable amount of time. So that's what breaks are really for. You do slowly build up more growth, like hormones within the tissue, while not doing PE, because like basically the stem cells of the dick will always be producing some kind of growth factors, and then it gets laid in between the collagen fibrils, and then when they stretch, they wring out growth factors, and that's how we get a localized healing response. But that shouldn't take more than 2 or 3 days to come back from that. So, yeah. All right, since I got a super chat from LR, how to increase turkey neck. I don't think you really want to increase it, but like all you really got to do is vacuum hang without any kind of, what's it called? Any skin protection whatsoever. So that way you just let it go. Like my turkey neck was literally like 40 to 60% of my shaft because of how much hanging I did and then having a tight circumcision before it. And then I had to reverse it back to be like, you know, 30 to 25% of my shaft's length now. So spec, how long should I use vibration? So you should only be doing it for like 30 minutes maximum. I don't know how much you actually need, but 30 is going to be the safe limit. You probably can get the same effects in 20 minutes that you would in 30 minutes. Then with the blue motor, it should be, let's see, it's plugged in. That's going to be a bitch. But come on. I'll actually have it on. Can't. Give me 1 second, guys. Ugh, okay. So this little dial for the blue motor is going to be about there. And it also depends on like the setting for this, because this is a 6-volt engine, or potentiometer. If you use a 12-volt, it's going to be different. But like I showed you what it should be on a 12-volt with this. If you're using a 6-volt, you could probably get away with being that high. But and then LR, is it possible to get half glans, half shaft proportion? It would be extremely difficult. So like just think about your starting point. Your shaft is going to be literally 80% of your erection in most cases. So like you would have to literally just grow only your glands for probably years at a time. And I don't know how much that would impact the overall usability of the glands, like if you lose any sensitivity. But I have seen guys on LPSG, and I don't know if the photos are still up, but his glands were literally like 4 inches long by 4 inches wide, while his shaft was literally like relatively normal size at like 5 inches around. So like you can have a literal apple head off of your dick, but I don't know if you can actually get it. If not, it has to be like potentially even like a birth defect to have it like that. So, Hitman, not to spread drama, but I'm noticing a lot of assholes on the subreddit recently that they talk to new people like they should know how to navigate the subreddit or what to look for. So, obviously I'm back in charge, and we have rules against just general toxicity, but like some people just don't know how to not be crass. So like if they're, answering the question and not being an overall dickhead, it's just going to be left up. But in general, I haven't really noticed any crazy negativity since I took over, but who knows what's going to happen in the next week or so. So Jamar, how would it work getting hard with your size goal of 10/7? I see a lot of larger porn stars struggle to get fully hard often, it seems. Is this a current concern for you, or is there a reason why they can't? So like, first, I think a lot of larger guys have only one layer of tunica albuginea. So that makes it much easier for them to stretch. And therefore, because their natural erections as a teenager stretch the dick out more than normal, they had some kind of like natural PE going on. But because of that, they actually will have just a natural, like more spongy like erection compared to a normal tunica albuginea. Then a lot of those big guys do just pump a lot, and they probably have just poor erection quality from over pumping. But for the most part, if you do like general PE, which I probably plan on doing in some fashion for the rest of my life, I'll have like super physiological erections regardless. So like my dick, even if I do get to 10/7, is going to be always at its peak. So I won't really have to worry about having like bad erection response. Like the only time my erections are really like slow to go is like when I am overly stressed or tired. So like I'm assuming it's going to be the same thing. Like again, guys, I grew from 6 to 9. My erection response has not changed at all. If anything, it's a little bit faster, but So Tula, could 2 weeks be enough to heal a torn frenulum? I don't know for sure. It depends on how severe the tear is, right? I would give it at least 2 weeks, potentially a month. It's going to be your best bet. And then Jay Betts, how's my day today? I mean, today is fine, but last night was hell. And like the people that were here at the beginning of the stream, my dogs, all 3 of them got sprayed by a skunk. So my house smells like onions, and my wife has bronchitis. So like, there's a lot going on here, and right now my diet is on break just because I don't have the bandwidth to actually sit down and meal prep because of everything else going on. Okay, Armin, how can I grow 1/3 glands plus a little shaft and 2/3 to grow, but the first part is small? What? Okay, how can I grow the 1/3 the glans plus a little shaft, and the first 2/3 good, but the front part is still small. I don't even know what you're asking, so like, could you elaborate a little bit more? And then hold on, Red said something about, Red, we'll talk about lotion and shit because you keep trying to change it without my permission, so we'll talk later about it, okay? Let's see. Okay, Jay Betts. I don't understand why I'm turtling when I'm on a break from any form of PE. Does that make sense? So, like, you might just be a natural grower, and turtling without, like, any overwork is probably a sign of, like, pelvic floor dysfunction. So, like, you have a tense pelvic floor, which is not allowing blood in at all when flaccid. So therefore your flaccid is exceptionally small, therefore it's turtling. So like if you haven't been doing any like hip flexor, hip adductor, any kind of pelvic girdle work, that could be some of your issue. But some guys are just naturally growers and there's not much you can do about it other than just continuously pump up to the point where your grower is just a big grower. So it's like a categorically big flaccid and it just gets ridiculously big when erect. So how can I close the gap between flaccid, stretch, flaccid length, and erect length? My flaccid is 1 inch longer. So I use this analogy a lot. You have a lot of lining for your sausage in your length with your stretch flaccid as it is. You don't have a lot of meat in your sausage. So you need to put more meat into your sausage, and the easiest way is going to be switching to girth for a bit and then really trying to push a shit ton in to the dick. Sorry, I gotta answer a business text real quick. Okay. And let me see where my iPhone is. There it is. Okay, sorry about that. I'm squaring away on a new trademark, so I just needed to get that done because my lawyer's filling out the paperwork as we speak. So, where are we at? Okay, City. Doing 5 to 10 minutes of tunica release, perfect square style, 20 minutes extending with far infrared heat. Can I keep this up for the first 2 years, and then should I up it to 30 minutes and above? So like the only way I could tell you that you need to like increase is like if you stop gaining. If you're gaining at 20 minutes of extending, there is no real reason to continuously push it, right? Because like it's working. There's no reason to rock the boat. Now, if you stop gaining, you can either add more weight or more time. I typically recommend people add more time before they add more weight because time is less strength adaptation responsible than adding more weight. So if you plan it right, you should only be really getting up to like 40 minutes extending and up to 15 pounds of tension within 3 years of doing PE. And then if you take a month or two off every year or so, you should fluctuate between 10 to 15 pounds. Okay. Mark, after days of pumping in the AM, hanging early PM, and final pump in the evening yesterday, I had to drop from 8 to 5 pounds and could not do more than 1 5-minute set. Quit after 3 minutes the second. Break time? It depends who you ask and what you actually go off of. So like if we look at this from like the anti-lock studies based off of rats, the fact that your dick is getting weaker means that you have broken down the tissue so much that it is at its weakest point, and if you keep doing work, it's just going to continuously stretch and degrade in quality. And then when you finally take a break, you should be able to like cement that size. Whatever your end size is, that's what it's going to be. But if you're trying to play it safe, you should probably cut back for a day or two to really like make sure you don't like hurt yourself. But I've only been in that like zone a handful of times last year, so I couldn't really give you like sound advice what to do when you're in that space. other than like if you think it's problematic, you should probably take a break. But like there's literal evidence showing that going that far and getting that much tissue breakdown with anti-lock studies is beneficial to overall shape change. So like it just depends how much you want to risk it. JB, thank you very much and keep up the good work. I'm trying, man. If you guys aren't on Getting Bigger, I just made a really big post about the 3 ways you can like reasonably increase your penis size. And if you haven't read it, check it out because it's just going to really bring you up to speed what I've been thinking for the past, let's say 6 to 8 months. So I think it's just a good 10-minute read for most of you guys here. All right, Gavin, currently taking finasteride due to hair loss prevention and seeing Hank's video on the negative side effects, and I've lost complete sex drive and just erections overall. Could it be low test? I wouldn't say low testosterone if you already, so like think about it this way. If you have low testosterone, you probably won't be losing your hair because you don't have the subsequent high DHT to cause hair loss. So it's more likely the finasteride just having adverse side effects. They do make topical finasteride, and like again, this is not health advice, but there are topical compounds for hair loss that you can get in like research chemical form. That's been shown to be pretty effective, at least in like animal models. Then again, I don't really know how animals experience male pattern baldness, but you get the point. There are other ways to like not take finasteride and keep your hair at that I know of at the moment. It's like RU588 something. Okay, so Tula. It's weird how my frenulum got tighter just after a week of the flu. I was thinking maybe because my flask was really small and I was sick before getting, let's see, I was doing great with PE and pumping. 8 to 10 inches, my frenulum was just getting a lot of edema, but it was really elastic. So like, any systemic stress response will cause collagen contraction, and like the smooth muscles in particular of the penis will contract as well. Now, the skin ripping after the flu is probably independent events. Like it was more likely that the skin just was not stretched like warm-up wise more than anything else, or like you were on the cusp of getting like a frenulum tear to begin with, and now it finally happened. But you know, it's really hard to say because it doesn't really, those two don't really connect. DJ Hard Smile. Air pumping or water pumping? Which is better for gains? I would say they have roughly the same effect because vacuum's going to, you know, over engorge the penis. Water pumping is going to lead to more immediate temporary gains, but that does not necessarily mean that you'll have bigger gains long term. And the only real reason why you get more temporary gains is because the pressure gradient is immediate. So like as soon as you apply pressure to water, that pressure is put into the entire fluid, dick included. Air, it can mess, it's not going to be as fluid because the air has to, you know, dissipate more into the vacuum, right? And that could lead to like some weird shape patterns potentially, but I'm not the physicist to be able to answer that. I would just typically recommend air pumping for just limiting bad edema, but you know, if you enjoy water pumping and you're gaining with it, there's no real reason not to continuously do it. Now, Zero asked a good question. If someone has fibrosis, will shooting closer to the 104% expansion metric suffice as their tissue is less flexible? I would say yes, but it really depends where the fibrosis is. So like outside of the fibrosis, you wouldn't have any real area or like any limiter factor for expansion. So like your base, if it doesn't have any fibrosis, should still get 6 to 8% expansion, right? Compared to, let's say, the top of your shaft that has a bit of fibrosis, that would be like, 4%. But really with fibrosis, if we're trying to treat it, it's going to be like a mix of massage and everything else, but you probably already knew that. So Hitman said he started to do manual stretches yesterday, 10 out of 10. How much can you gain with them? Well, first, Hitman, don't you have a bunch of tools already? Second, so no matter how you stretch your dick, as long as you stretch it enough, it's going to work. So whether it be with your hands, an extender, or hangers, you will grow. The problem is with hangers, or not with hangers, with hands in general, is that it's very easy to like get tired, right? So like your limiting factor is your tricep strength. I gained an inch in about 8 to 12 months doing manuals, about 20 minutes a day, 20 to 30 minutes a day. There's no limit to it. It's just most like long-term gainers are going to move to devices very fast. Okay. Snowbusters, good afternoon. I am 6¼ bone pressed by 6 girth. What do you suggest for length? So I just made a Reddit post about the manual's length routine. It's also on this YouTube and also on this porn, well, not this Pornhub, but my Pornhub. Good place to start if you don't want to spend any money. And then I would actually recommend getting like a cheap-ish hanger, or a high-value hanger, whether it be at Peak My Physique or, my contemporaries, because it just makes life a lot easier. If you have no spending limit and you are willing to, put $200 to $300 toward this, I would get the Apex extender and then a vacuum hanging set, or, the male hanger, whatever. Main thing is like, you have to just take it slow to start. So like, it's only going to be like 20 minutes of length work a day for the first 3 to 4 weeks, and then you can slowly increase it from there. Okay, Jeff Hayes, realistic timeline to go from 5.1 to 7 inches non-bone press. Also, must I overshoot my goal? So it also depends on like how fat you are, because like, no joke guys, my fat pad's like just over 1/4 of an inch at this point. So that would mean my exposed length has grown 3/4 of an inch in about 8 weeks just by dieting hard. My dick did not grow at this time. So if you just lose, 30 pounds of body fat, you could potentially gain 3/4 of an inch of visible penis size, right? Now, for actual tissue, 2 inches in length is going to take at least 2 inches, more likely 3 years, to grow that much if you're committed the entire time. Most people are not going to be committed the entire time, so it's probably going to take 4 years to gain 2 inches, just because a lot of people will slack off with this, because I'm telling you now, gaining an inch is life-changing. Your motivation to continue is going to drop significantly once you get past like 7 inches bone pressed. Okay, JB, when finishing an extending session, I notice I have wrinkles all over the shaft. Is it positive? That's interesting. So like proper wrinkles, like what you would see if your skin was underwater for like 10 to 15 minutes, right? Excuse me, guys. That was actually just a burp, not a cough. But that's weird. I don't think it's a positive or a negative, but it's something you want to keep an eye on. It could be the sign of stretch marks forming, but other than that, it's not going to like impede gains. It might just mess with your appearance in the midterm. So again, just keep an eye on it. Okay, Hitman, what are your thoughts on respiratory trainer for lung support to increase nitric oxide? I don't exactly know what a respiratory trainer is. Like, is it like an altitude mask? I don't think it would do anything for PE. It would help with endurance, which by proxy might help erection quality, but it's not going to like make your dick bigger faster. It might increase, again, your erection quality, but I really don't think any kind of like anything beyond cardio is going to give you super physiological erections. So Tula, it's not a big tear, just a little burn sensation. So like you could have just had a skin abrasion from like putting your sleeve on improperly, if you did vacuum hanging, for example, or like you just didn't have lubricant in the pump when you pumped, and like you actually just caused a little bit of skin abrasion. You don't have like a visible open wound. It's not going to be a frenulum tear. Like if you actually want to know what a frenulum tear is, Google it, and don't say I didn't warn you, because it's kind of gross. It's graphic for sure. Irish boy, if I'm overworked and my EQ is extremely weak at all times, should I completely rest and let it heal by itself? Or could I do manual stretching, massage, heat, and gua sha to preserve the size? So the only thing I would really do for the first 3 or 4 days is massage, because like you developed a stress adaptation. So like your smooth muscle in your dick's actually going to be compressed and tight. So we need to get it to relax again. And how you do that is through massage. Then you can slowly start adding things back into your routine and figure out what the point is, where your erection quality is still good, but you're hitting like growth metrics, right? So that's what you got to do, is just like literally 2 to 3 days off, and then start doing massage mechanics for like a week or two. And then over the month, you could probably start adding stuff back in. Okay, MR86. How does Glans enlargement work with the water trick? How much lighter should the cup be? How long should my time be with the vacuum cup? So, like, I did most of my Glans gains with just the bell that I have now, and it was just with like vacuum hanging or extending at this point. Your glands can actually be a bit smaller or a bit bigger than the bell, because like the vacuum cup will stretch your glands, because like it's going to slowly start falling into the sleeve, but that vacuum pressure is going to still pull on the tip, which is some form of sensation. You probably still want to be within 10% of the bell size. So like, for example, if the cup is 42 millimeters, that's going to be just over 5 inches. Let me double check that. (42 times 3.14). Okay, and then divide by 10, divide by 2.55. So like our largest bell would fit glands that are 5 1/4 inch circumference comfortably, but like I'm shoving my 6-inch erect size glands into it, and I've still been seeing some improvements in gland size. So like even then, it doesn't matter all that much. Your main thing is just making sure you don't get blisters, and that's when bell size is important. So I would suggest getting like, again, a bell within 10% of your size now, and go from there. I would still say do some kind of vacuum hanging, but like there's also devices like LA Pump has the Mushroom Maker that is specifically designed for gland swell. I don't know how well it works, but like I know it's an option as well. Okay, Armin, re-explaining what you're saying. The back 2/3 of my circumference has grown well. How do I get the glands in front third to grow? So your natural shape is a bit hard to change. So like I've always had a bit of a taper. BAF made it significantly worse, because it's literally a taper. It just put a lot more pressure on my base. And then what you have to really do is limit the expansion in the bottom 2/3 and then grow the top third. So like I have been using a 2 1/8 cylinder. I pack the cylinder for the first 3 or 4 inches within the first 30 seconds. And then the rest of my shaft will then pack the cylinder. And that's the part that I've been trying to grow, and we can see it slowly grow over time. I have a lot less of a cone dick and a lot more like a normal cylindrical shape now. So like that's really as simple as is, just not allowing the base to expand to grow everything else. Oh, Alexander, I did get your email. I just did not respond because it was a very hectic day yesterday. So Once I get to my vacuum hanging right up, I will be sure to mention you in some regard. But anyway, LR, girth 3 times a week and length 3 times a week, 1 day, length 1 day, girth. No, it's not a good idea to do that, LR, because basically the stem cells will respond to the direction that it feels the stretch. So to me, it makes much more sense to focus on one and then optimize for it. So like I've been on a length kick for the past 1.5 years or so. Honestly, it's been like 3 years at this point, but you get the point. I've been stretching my dick because the stem cells will migrate in the direction of the stretch. It's that simple. So if we're trying to get girth, we're going to literally focus only on girth and do a little bit of massage mechanics in place of length to, like, you know, get it to relax. And then for elongation and length training, it's going to be 80% of stretching and then like 20% pumping just to make sure the blood vessels inside our dick grow with it. So again, dividing and conquering makes the most sense when it comes to PE solely because stem cells will just follow the movement pattern that you're doing. Which pump do you recommend for beginners on your site, the manual pump or the auto one? So either is fine. I think there's going to be less margin of error with the manual one because you're in complete control of the pressure. Not saying that a beginner can't use the auto pump. I just think the normal pump has a lot more utilitarian uses. So like it's much easier to do like static pumping with it. You learn the pressure better, and like if you fuck up and don't hit the pause button right away, there's a lot less chance of injury once you're more experienced. So I would recommend just getting the regular pump, and you would save a decent bit of money at the same time. So Jay bets with his turtling, and he's saying turtling might not be the correct word. He's cut, and I have skin riding up on my glands like I was uncut. Again, this is during a PE break. So like, that's a good thing, to be completely honest. Your glands are being protected by your foreskin. Like you have a loose circumcision is how people put it. So like, unless your flaccid is literally like a little button, you know what I mean. You have a relatively stretchy flaccid still, all that, and the skin just goes over it. That just means you have enough dick skin that no matter what you do with PE, you are not going to have any kind of tenting whatsoever. Okay, Horty. Is it okay to feel cold in the glands when doing compression hanging? It should be expected, especially if you're in a cold climate, like it's 35 degrees out. It's like 25 degrees out right now. So I can always guarantee you, anytime I do PE, my glands are going to be cold, even with like a vacuum cup or something like that. Important thing is just to bring blood flow back after you're done. Jay Thunder, swears routine, 18 sets of 1 minute of interval pumping. I don't know if this is swerve or perv. I wish they came up with better names for each other. But anyway, into the apex while soft clamping. Cock ring, 10 pounds of tension. 40 sets of 1 minute intervals while doing tunica release massage. I've added, if I add vibration to swerve's pumping set, would that eliminate the need for tunica release massage? So I have no idea what that routine is. And if you have not done PE, I would not recommend doing it. It is a bit dangerous to wear a cock ring and extend. It's also a bit dangerous to press onto the shaft and extend at the same time. So if you don't have any experience with PE, this is not something you want to start with. Vibrations in this is going to probably stress out your dick way too much. If anything, I do 20 minutes with vibrations and then come back and then do 20 minutes of clamping, however, with the release after the fact. Because the release is going to be some kind of tissue release, knowing perv. And that's going to have a different effect than vibration would. But they'll both release growth factors at the same time. I just don't know if the massage is going to lead to more shape change than, say, vibrations would. Kenny, is it safe to do PE 7 days a week with no break? I think most guys should modulate their intensities a bit. I also think a good break every, let's say, month for like 2 or 3 days is going to have really good improvements on erection quality. Ideally, every 6 to 8 weeks, you take a week off from PE or do like, let's say, a third of your workload to allow any accumulated fatigue to settle, and you can heal more and actually grow more in that state. It's like an overreaching thing. If you guys are familiar with bodybuilding, you know what I'm talking about with periodization. But I would plan for at least like one light day of PE a week. I typically recommend 2 to 3 light days a week, but you know, if you still have a good erection quality, you don't really need as many breaks. Eddie Agee, new at pumping. I'm still flabbergasted by the size of my D after a session. So it's funny because I haven't done like fetish pumping in like, I don't know, 18 months at this point. I did literally 30 minutes, 3 sets, 10 minutes, and then just continuously went up in tube size and used heat. I went from like 6 inches mid-shaft girth to 7 inches mid-shaft girth, and then some accumulated edema after the fact with a cock ring. Like, I don't remember my dick ever looking that big, but like I do remember pumping up that big. So I don't know if it's like, since I actually have like a denser dick now, it just looks a lot scarier. But yeah, it still happens to us veterans as you stop doing certain techniques and come back to them. Jeez, I'm getting blown up right now on Discord, sorry. When should your first long deconditioning break after PE be? Usually after your second year is when you'd really need a deconditioning break. A deload week every 2 months or so is useful, and you should probably plan around that. But like a deconditioning break is going to make it easy to gain. So like if you're slowing down significantly at the 18th month mark, just plan that you're going to need a month off very soon. Mark, I was fine with 8 pounds before adding all the pumping, by the way. Doing great. I'll keep on and lower the weights to 5 pounds and roll. Thanks for the advice. You're welcome. I don't remember if I answered this stream or last, but glad I could help. And I'm trying to see if I skipped someone. I think it just got caught up in the safety filter, Eddie, unless you just didn't see me answer it. Irish boy, pump or MS, I don't know what MS is. Which one has chances to extremely fatigue the tissues and therefore cause overwork? Your opinion, considering an average time, how many times per day of pumping is too much for most? So like, I would say the safe limit for pumping for an intermediate person is going to be about 40 minutes and not have any lasting erection quality drop. Going up to 60 minutes is where you're going to see like a drop in erection quality for the next day or so, because like your tissues are chronically stressed. And then if you pair it with like a severe masturbation session afterwards, I can almost guarantee you it's going to be 4 or 5 days of poor erection quality. Porn consumption or like masturbation, like it would take like me 45 minutes to an hour to get like any kind of pelvic floor fatigue, but I'm a sick fuck. So I wouldn't be the best person to ask that. I couldn't really give you like a normal human experience based off of that. Okay. HM25, do you see any benefits between alternating between compression, hanging, and vacuum extending? By alternating it, could one mitigate the cumulative negative effects that come with only doing one of the methods? So the only real difference between vacuum hanging and like compression hanging, doesn't matter if it's an extender or not, is that since the compression hanger grips the shaft itself and not the glands, you might be limiting the stretch just under the shaft, right? And this is just completely speculative. It hasn't been proven. So if you switch between vacuum hanging and compression hanging, you wouldn't have to worry about that issue. That being said, there might even be a novel growth stimulus from that kind of compression right there. So like I couldn't give you a straight answer either way. I just noticed that since compression hangers allow you to hang a lot more weight, people tend to up the weight faster than they really should, and then that's when they plateau. Okay. John, any way to prevent stretch marks from pumping or get rid of ones already formed? So, like, the easiest way to prevent stretch marks is not to pump up more than like 10% of your total size already. So, like, if you're 5 inches, don't try to get past like 5.5, 5.6 in girth, because otherwise it's just going to be stretching the skin at that point, and that's when you really break down elastin. That's what stretch marks is broken down elastin. You can get rid of them. There's literally pregnancy creams for it. I just don't know how effective it would be in the dick, because it's not a very robust skin structure. Like, you know, it's very thin. So, like, it'll take a decent bit of work to remove it. It should be possible just based off of basic skincare. I just don't know how. Do you think having fibrosis will prevent or slow gain significantly in girth for someone who's been doing girth for a year? So, like, as you treat fibrosis, girth should come in faster and faster, because, like, the corpus cavernosum can expand. And then at a certain point, once that fibrosis is completely mitigated, your gain should slow down in that spot where fibrosis is, just because, like, it's getting back to a normal healing response. It should not prevent gains. Could it slow gains? Maybe, compared to the rest of the shaft. But, like, I think the breakdown is going to happen faster than, like, proper growth. Like, not erection quality, not shape change, proper growth. My neighbor's dogs have been barking for 15 minutes. I can't wait to just move to the woods. Ugh. Except it's going to be like 3 to 4 years at this rate, but you know. Okay, Ibrahim, which is better, extending or hanging? I would do extending, typically, if you want to know, like, what's classically better, just because it stretches from 2 sides, so it pushes into your pelvis, pulls out into open space. Hanging only pulls out into open space. Hanging is much more cost effective, though. And then Hink said he would advise to do manuals holding the base so you avoid the suspensory ligament stretch. So suppose extending is better, because there's no ligament stress. So, like, you probably do want to stretch your ligaments a bit, just from, like, the fact that erection mobility will open up a lot of angles for sex. So, like, if you can't push that down parallel, you're going to want to do some kind of between the cheeks stretch, there we go, or, you know, other motions that would stretch out the ligament. That being said, there's not many gains to be had from ligament stretching, no more than a ½ inch. Now, extending would isolate the shaft. Like I said, I get blown up at 2 p.m. all the time anymore. But hold on, let me see if this dog is, like, loose or something, and I gotta call the cops. I can't see it. I just hate my neighbors. What do you know? Like, sorry, I'm just complaining a lot, but, like, there are 6 other dogs around me out of, like, the 7 or 8 houses, right? None of them are properly trained, for the exception of one, so it's just constant barking here 24/7. But that's just suburbia here in the United States these days. Anyway. Let's see. Where the hell did I leave off? Okay, Leopoldo. For pumping, is there a DIY solution for keeping the ball sack out of the cylinder? In my country, there's little access to PE devices. Any kind of, silicone sleeve and put it around your ball sack would work. So, like, I don't know how easy you could get something like that. It just needs to be a soft rubber to keep your balls away from the pump. Like, I've seen people literally use, like, metal weights around their balls to, like, you know, stretch them out. That could work too. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. But like in general, just something that's soft and pliable and stretchy to keep your balls away from the pump is going to work. I don't have anything off the top of my head other than like a literal silicone sleeve. And you might be able to find that like in a medical shop or something like that, like a pharmacy. So Armin, if you're not feeling any pressure at the tip when pumping, focus on massaging that area because that's probably just denser collagen specific like than the base. Because like if you think about it this way, the weave has to work into itself if it's going to get smaller, so it's going to be a bit denser compared to the rest of the shaft, right? So, and again, think about how most guys, their dick kind of goes like this, and then it gets to the glands, and then it reshapes. So like, unless the collagen fibrils are terminating somewhere down the line, it's just getting denser towards the tip. So you're probably going to need to actually massage it out a bit. Okay. And hello, Hot Sunshine. So follow up on Glans enlargement, says MR86. Will it work just in a vacuum cup, or will I need to use the extender as well? So the extender is going to basically apply chronic tension and expansion and a vacuum pressure to the gland. So I would recommend having some kind of hanger or extender itself cause the vacuum. And then what you really want to do is just leave space at the tip to allow for vacuum pressure to build up. But the more space you leave, the more likely you are to fall out of the bell, and the more or the higher chance of blisters potentially. So just be a bit careful with that. So Jesus Martinez, I'm getting blisters 4 times in a row, changing cup size twice and still getting a blister. What I'm doing wrong. So if it's in the same spot, it's because the skin isn't healing properly. So you probably need more time off. Like blisters suck. They can take literally anywhere from 10 days to 21 days to fully keratinize, and then the skin's ready to go. And like you could even extend it farther because like you have to build up more skin layers under the new skin as well to keep the blister from forming. And then you might just not be cut out for vacuum hanging, and that's why compression hanging is popular, because there's a lot of people not cut out for vacuum hanging. So what I would recommend is like literally take 2 to 3 weeks off from PE, probably tape, and see how that goes. So like get medical tape, tape your glands perfectly flat, all that jazz, and it should help then limit how long you're under pressure. So like make sure you release tension every 5 to 10 minutes or so, and then every half hour to 20 minutes, check the glands itself to make sure you're not getting a blister. Like you'll be able to see like pock marks, and I personally feel like a sharp pinch or any kind of pinching anywhere on the shaft, and I can almost guarantee you I'm getting a blister in my bad spot. So, yeah. Sam, can you explain why Hank's ideal routine is 2 separate 15 to 30 minute stretches per day? How can he hit strain metrics with breaking it up in 2 separate sessions? So it's not that Hank doesn't believe in strain as heavily as I do. He agrees that tissue fatigue is necessary. He just doesn't think it's relatively easy to measure such a fine level of detail. So like if we're looking for 2 to 3% longer after the fact, he doesn't think most guys would be able to do that consistently to actually be able to gauge their routine. Now, you can easily hit strain in 30 minutes of stretching. What Hank is really doing is some kind of shape change training. So like if you do it 2 to 3 times a day, you are basically coaxing the tissues to break down, and then that releases more shape restructuring proteins instead of like growth factors, and that's going to help lay the tissues down more so in a, what's it called, uniform fashion than like miscombobulated and all that stuff. So that would be the main difference. He isn't, I wouldn't say that he's even going for shape change, but that's how it would work under my model. DJ Hardstyle, my post-pump edema normally takes a shape of donut around the gland anyway to avoid this. I have a 10-minute warm-up. So like it's almost inevitable to get some kind of edema, and that's going to be one of the most common shapes for cut guys because like the skin's loosest there for most guys. So like it's just going to be very easy to blow out. And then actually what I've noticed is that the skin is tighter around the point where the foreskin and the testicle periscrotal webbing meet. For whatever reason, it's just exceptionally tight for me. So like I'll get a really big spade shape when I pump. But all you really have to do is like use a silicone sleeve and put it around the top half of your dick, even a little bit onto your glands, to limit that expansion. The problem is like that compression could also potentially limit gains in that spot, so you just got to be a bit careful. And then really what leads to a lot of edema buildup is either using too much pressure or too much time. So play around with different pressures first and then cut back on time to see how much edema you get. Maline, I'm currently doing 2 pumping sessions a day, 15 minutes pumping each session. Can I earn length by doing this? So I don't think you gain that much length with it unless like you're really close to packing the cylinder, and then that's just kind of helping with the shape change in general. But like it would be exceptionally rare to gain a sizable amount of length with just pumping alone. Like most guys will gain a lot more girth than they would gain length at that point. I would strongly recommend adding in some kind of length stuff and then doing pumping as well with it. But even then, pumping twice a day, AM and PM, has led to most of the guys that were trying to gain length to gain girth with my little gain-a-thon video series that I was doing, which I really still need to do calls for, but you know. So keep that in mind as well. Okay, Dante, what routine would you recommend for if you do both length and girth at the same time? So again, I don't really recommend doing both at the same time because the stem cells follow the movement of the stretch. So like if we're stretching long ways, they're going to travel upwards and look for damage that way. And then if it's stretching around the girth of the penis, it's going to literally travel around the girth of the penis looking for damage to fix. So if we do both, we're going to kind of send a conflicted signal, and we're not going to get as efficient gains in both directions. Additionally, just from a mathematics perspective, the visual changes would be a lot more violent if you gained an inch of girth in a year versus half an inch in girth. What did I say, girth? Hold on. An inch in length in a year. And then you could then gain, like, let's say, half an inch in length and a quarter of an inch in girth. Your dick's just not going to look that much more impressive compared to just gaining an inch of length straight. So that's why I don't really recommend it. But, like, all you really got to do if you're trying to do both at the same time is, like, 20 to 30 minutes of hanging or, you know, extending. And then, like, 20 minutes total of pumping. And then if you really wanted to get crazy, you do the feeder sets like Maline's doing, AM and PM. But that's going to make it more girth focused. All right, Maline. How about vibrations for 2025? So like I've been still using them. I've been using the smaller motor. I haven't been as consistent with PE as I wanted to, but like I've been flirting with like 9 1/4 bone press at this moment. I don't have any pictures, so don't ask. But yeah, I still think there's something to it. Again, I haven't seen anyone else replicate the same results I've had with pictures. So like, it's very hard for me to recommend it to you guys other than like, hey, this is cool. But like, until someone else gains a lot with it, I can't really tell you guys to do it as aggressively as I've been doing it. And then another vibrations question. Leo, looking into vibrations, how do I incorporate it into my routine? Which vibes do I get? I am currently doing 2 days on, 1 day off, extending sets, 6 sets, 5 minutes at 10 pounds. And then interval pumping, 10 to 12 inches of mercury, 5 sets, 2 minutes. So let me see if I can grab the motor I recommend. Okay, so again, this is not like hard set recommendations or anything like that. and you can like understand the risk associated with this, predominantly numbness that comes from this, and like, you know, mild nerve damage if you're not careful. But this is the 2838 motor, vibration motor. You can only get it like on Alibaba and AliExpress. It does not come with a potentiometer. There might be a kit available. I don't know off the top of my head. You set it to like 4 on the dial for a 12 volt, and then we'll say, you know, 7 to 8 on a 6 volt potentiometer. All you got to do is 10-minute sets, turn it off every 2 minutes or so. Wrap it around your dick when you're using your extender, and then, you know, take it off every, not take it off, turn it off every 10 minutes, and then probably release tension at the same time. I typically would say don't do 30 minutes right away. Do like 10, then the next week do 20. Gauge erection quality, gauge sensitivity, go from there. If you just want to do it with pumping, just literally strap it to the cylinder. I've been using, this is a leg strap from the Peak Muscle Physique All Day Stretcher Kit. Just wrap it around the cylinder like a sushi roll method. Again, 10 to 20 minutes, take a break every 10 minutes. Don't exceed more than 30 minutes of vacuum pressure a day, or, you know, vibration a day. Mitch, I've cut down on my pumping. My skin is getting so irritated. Any advice? Take like a week off, let your skin not be irritated, and then try again. Also, make sure you're using lubricant, and like if you're really close on tube size, then get a bigger tube size. It's probably going to be one of those three: is that your skin's just chronically irritated from chronically stretching, or that is chronically like sliding against the sides and you need a break. And then a bigger cylinder. So Q, what is my size goal? So I think my hard limit is going to be like 10 and a half by 7. I did talk about this a bit, but I did fetish pumping the other day, and I got to like well over 7 inches mid-shaft girth. While my wife could handle it, she did not like it at all. So I don't even know if I'm going to be able to get to 7 inches, but like, you know, long-term improvements might allow for her to adapt much more easily. But like, that's going to be like so ridiculously big, and like that experience the other day actually made me realize how many guys probably lie about being, you know, around 7 inches girth, like true mid shaft, because like this thing was thicker than my own wrist, right? And like if you're literally thicker than a dude's wrist, it is an objectively massive dick. And like I can only think of maybe one porn star ever that was that thick, 2 off the top of my head. Like this was thicker than Shane Diesel looked like in most porn. So, you know, like I'm not trying to throw shade at Shane Diesel or anything, but I think you get my point. Abraham, does pumping make a tight pelvic floor tighter? It definitely could, but there is a potential avenue that light pumping could help relax the pelvic floor, because it's kind of pulling blood in and then causing the ischiocavitous muscle to relax because there's pressure inside the corpus cavernosum, right? So like I don't necessarily recommend it, but like there is an avenue that light pumping could help alleviate pelvic floor symptoms, just because it helps flush out the corpus cavernosum. Kenny Wallace, how long of a break to get newbie gain status again? That's a tough question. So like if you guys go on Reddit and check out my most recent post, I talk about the 3 types of newbie gains, or like not newbie gains, gains in general. So you have erection quality, shape change, and then tissue hypertrophy. Erection quality and shape change is, what's it called? Sorry, someone literally said like the next town over from my office, and that threw me for a loop. But shape change and erection quality is newbie gains. So like the premise of erection quality is once you gain it, it's very easy to lose, but you don't lose it if you keep a healthy lifestyle. Then shape change is like the tissues in your dick that were improperly aligned have fully aligned. So like if you're actually trying to get to a newbie gain state again, you have to get to piss poor erection quality, and then you'd have to like let your dick weaken and like atrophy a bit to actually get that kind of easy gain again. Now, if you're just trying to get to the point where strength adaptation isn't an issue, it's only going to be about 2 to 3 months to the point where like 5 pounds is going to be as effective as 10 pounds was. Okay. Nacho Macho, is it healthy to compression hang or extend for more than 2 hours? Is numbing of the glands harmful? So like 2 hours is the safe limit for any high tension PE. If you just started, you should not really be doing more than 1 hour. I rarely do more than 1 hour of length these days. Now, is numbing of the glands harmful? Not necessarily. That just means that your glands are not accepting sensation right now. And there's a lot of reasons for it. Usually chronic stress, but it doesn't necessarily mean the nerves are damaged. What you really want to avoid is tingling and sharp pains, because that's the actual sign of nerve death. Now, Humvee says, if you need a hand with anything in the shop, let me know. He's from the town next to my office. So we are very, I don't want to say fast growing, but like we're getting to the point where I'm going to need more help. So I will keep you in mind, Humvee. But there's probably like an 80% chance you know who my dad is, which is fucking wild. My dad is like very well connected in Armstrong County, so. What do you consider a big and small soft size and big and small flaccid size before and after pumping? What? So you mean the same thing? Okay. So like an objectively big flaccid is going to be anything over 4.5 inches in length, and then probably like 4 inches in girth as well, because like you're going to be slightly longer than the smallest guys are flaccid when they're erect, right? Now pumped is going to be probably like closer to 5 to 6 inches flaccid, and then 5 inches in girth, because then you're going to be as big as the bigger guys are soft when they are hard. Now, for me, my flaccid already is like 6 inches by 5.25. So like my pumped flaccid is like well over 7 inches by 6 at this point. To me, that's what I consider like big, obviously, because that's what I'm used to. But yeah. LR just says, John B, use iodine. Please don't use iodine for skin peels. First of all, it is DNA toxic. It is relatively liver toxic. And some guy just posted on the Reddit that he continuously used iodine, and like now he is having a chronic burning sensation on his dick because he started burning the nerve endings. There are much safer skin peel products out there. I've been telling most people to use some kind of glycolic acid solution at like 10%. It is better to like just do it slowly over a course of a month or so than to try to get it all done in a week, because there's a lot less room for error that way. So please don't use iodine. It's literally the first skin peel method. We've come at least 100 years forward since then in skincare technology. Just don't risk it. So Abe, got a pump and it feels uncomfortable, almost painful at only 2.5 inches. Is it normal for a beginner? Will I get used to it? So like at 2.5 inches of mercury, that is definitely on the lower end. I would, depending who you got it from, I would ask for a separate pump handle to see if there's something wrong with yours. But in general, you will get used to the pressure and you will pump up more and more and be able to handle more and more pressure. That being said, there are days where like I just can't handle more than 8 inches of mercury, and then there's days I can easily get up above 13 inches of mercury, just depending on like the last workout I've had and what I've done with my dick in the past 48 hours. So it should be slowly increasing, but like if you're having pressure at 2.5 inches of mercury, don't really try to increase it except for like a week or two. All right, Niraj sign. I think I said that right. Niraj, okay. Niraj sign. Or is it Singh? I think it's sign. I'm sorry, guys, with the names and everything like that. But what should my priority be, girth or length, in my initial journey? So I typically have most people start with length because that's the first easy visible improvement, right? So that way, if you gain like a quarter of an inch in length, it is much more noticeable than say like a 16th inch in girth. And it's much easier to get motivated for more gains to come. And now, on top of that, most guys are going to gain a sizable amount of erection quality at the beginning, and it's not unheard of that guys will gain like a quarter of an inch in erection quality at the same time they gain their first half inch in length. And then, while we slowly progress and everything like that, we probably want to focus even more on one direction or the other. So like length work is going to take more time in general, and I would tell most people to focus on their first inch unless they're really close to their girth goal to begin with. Okay, everlasting. Which extender do you think is good to wear underclothes discreetly? So like as of right now, the only one that is safe to wear discreetly under clothes is the Phallus and Forte. But Perv McSwerve and Massive Novelties is just started production on their own all-day stretcher, which is going to be quite comparable to the Phallus and Forte at literally like probably at least or at most half the cost. So like it's probably going to be cheaper than half the cost of the Phallus and Forte, but it's going to be just as effective. So I would strongly recommend you wait until February to get one, just because like whatever comes out from Massive Novelties is going to be much cheaper and probably just as effective, if not more effective, than the Phallus and Forte. Okay, well, there's a lot going on in chat. Zero, if I have a ligament stretched in over a year, would the ligaments have returned to baseline if there's a half an inch just waiting to be revealed? I'm not exactly sure about that because like I can tell you now my ligaments are relatively tight at this point. But like I don't think my dick is sitting any closer to my pelvis than it originally is, and it's not like my mobility's changed all that much. It's just that I feel the burn more when I was demonstrating between the cheeks the other day, and like I felt like newbie sensation burns again. So like I could try it, but I don't think it's gonna really lead to more gains. Just maybe make my dick sit lower, and I don't think we want that. So, I mean, you could try it and let me know, but I don't know if it would have any benefit. Sebastian, after 3 sets of compression hanging at 3 kg, I elongate to 2.9%. Should I put more weight on? A few hours later, I pump 3 sets 5 minutes, 1 set 8 minutes, or 1 set 8 inches of mercury, 2 sets 10 inches of mercury. So like if you're 2.9% longer after you take the device off, you are well within the strain metrics. Like your fatigue rate is exactly where you want it. You don't need any more work. If you are at that point with the device on, you could probably add a little bit more, but like I don't know how much it would help, and I don't know how easy it is to measure with like a compression hanging device. So I wouldn't really change anything of your routine right now, especially if you've been seeing changes on the roller. So Teddy, is switch from using the compression hanger with the extender using vacuum cup. Okay, BD, hold on. BD, switch from using the compression hanger with the extender and using the vacuum cup, but I'm uncut and literally hell to put it on. So like if you're trying to use a vacuum cup while uncut, I just got an email from someone who has pretty reasonable advice how to put one on. But basically most guys would say try to get your foreskin as far back as possible when you put the bell on, and then use a shorter sleeve so that way you don't get the foreskin like rolled up into the sleeve. So like you could cut this to like 1.5 inches potentially and get it to work. Other people will fold the sleeve over itself so that way the foreskin can actually go over the sleeve as well. Now, depending on what extender you use, like I don't know what brand you got, but like you can use a compression hanger with the Apex, for example, unless you're like, you know, over 8 inches in length, then you're gonna need like additional bars and all that. Snowbusters, 47, fairly healthy, could lose a few pounds for sure. Would age affect PE at all in my goals for gain? So like the only thing I know that's different from a 40-year-old, 50-year-old dick to a 20-year-old dick is that the collagen in dicks get more dense with age, and it could mean you just need a bit more pressure and a bit more weight to like get gains, but like other than that you'll grow the same. And like since you're older, you're probably going to actually have more potential for that shape change that I talked about. So like you'll get your 20-year-old dick back much faster because like you already have the existing tissue there, not to mention erection quality improvements. So yeah, there's no real thing you need to worry about except that you might need like 10 to 20% more weight than a younger guy to stretch as much. Hold on, I'm just going to answer this because I was chirping with Hank about it. So BD, project idea, take CT scan and MRI before pumping to show the size of the CC each time. Is it possible to make a detailing whole explanation video during pumping? This will make you a legend. So I don't think I'd be able to just walk in and get an MRI because like that's a relatively long process. CT scan, probably the same thing, but I could potentially do ultrasound. Like you could buy handheld ultrasonic sensors for like, you know, ultrasound imaging for like $900 on Alibaba. The problem is like I would need to like do some trial and error to make it work, and then I would need someone else to interpret the results, but luckily I know a renowned physician that could do it for me. So like I'm incredibly busy right now, but like this is something I have been thinking about. All right, sorry for skipping a couple guys. I'm coming back. Juan, how do we know we have to increase the time in high tension? First, did you stop gaining? If you stop gaining, that's a pretty good sign, right? Then what we're looking for is how much longer you are after a session. So like I typically say you want to be 2 to 3% longer after a session. So measure your stretch flaccid at the beginning, and then measure your stretch flaccid afterwards. And if we go to peakmalephysique.com, there is a calculator just for this, so I don't have to do the math off the top of my head. Tools, fatigue calculator, and then we go to scene 2. All right, so we got our fatigue calculator. Let's say you're 6 inches in length. We calculate. We need you to be about 6 1/8 to 6 3/16 off the top of my head longer out of the device. If you're not hitting this metric, you need either more time or more weight. Once you hit that metric, keep the weight until you're not hitting that, and then you can continuously increase weight or time, not at the same time. But that's how you're going to know if you're actually stressing out the tissues enough. Okay, Tiger, do most women actually find muscularity attractive? I often hear on social media that women don't like it that much. I always thought it was a turn on. So like there's levels to it, and we're in the era of what people have been calling physique inflation. So like mid physiques now are going to be like peak natural physiques, and then getting like to in what we're considering high muscle levels is going to require anabolics and steroids and all that jazz, right? Most women are going to find broad shoulders attractive and strong muscles attractive, but like some women are going to find being dick skin peeled and ripped unattractive. My wife is one of those people. She prefers me with a little bit of meat, but like subtle musculature and everything else. Most women would probably be okay with that, but there are some women that really like abs as well. So it really just comes down to how muscular you get more than anything else. I would say upwards of an FMI of 24. So that's going to be like world-class natural bodybuilder levels is going to be attractive to a woman, and getting beyond 25, 26, 27 is going to be too much of a freak show for most women to actually enjoy. And just for the record, the more muscular I got, the more female attention I got, but my face also got more attractive at the same time. So it could be a complete wash. But if anything, that just means muscularity doesn't matter that much, as like, you know, actual handsome appearance and face symmetry matters more. Anyway, I'm going to go for another 15 minutes, guys, so we'll see what I get. Okay, LR super chat. I like my dark tan skin from pumping. Is it just me? I wouldn't say so. I just know that a lot of people prefer it. I wish mine was slightly lighter, but like I'm not going to really worry about it because I tan really fast in the summer, so like my dick doesn't look all that out of place. But yeah, I wouldn't say you are weird, just in the minority. Okay, Juan. If I was doing 2 months, but I feel great with sensation, should I rest anyways? The easiest way to tell, and you probably need to be taking these numbers beforehand, is like your stretch flaccid will be growing continuously for like 6 to 8 weeks, right? And like come week 5, week 6, you'll actually start seeing it slow down a bit. And once it starts slowing down and actually stagnates, so like I have this pretty well cataloged, but I went from 8.5 to 9. I would get up to like 8.8 stretch flaccid, and then the following week could be 8.9, 9, 9.1, and then it stopped at 9.1 for a bit. That's when I took my break. I went back down to like 8.6, 8.7 stretch flaccid, but my erect length actually caught up a bit to it. So I was like 8.5, 8.6, continue that cycle. And anytime your stretch flaccid stagnates for more than like a week at a time, it's probably a good time to take off a deload week, or I think you could piece together the words I said. Okay, is it bad to masturbate after pumping without BFR for retention theory? I think it's not optimal. I wouldn't say it's bad. Like, it's not going to kill your gains, but it might slow down your gains. Dashatorius. It's 2025, and the fact that half the decade is over is baffling to me. Dude, I'm going to be 30 in like less than 2 years, and I'm not excited for it because like it's a big, scary, round number. But I fully plan on living to like 125 at this point, so it's no big deal to me. But yeah, time marches on, that's all you can do. BD, how do I improve erection quality? Well, the easiest way is going to be pumping 3 sets, 5 minutes, around 5 to 7 inches of mercury, 3 to 5 times a week, and then I can almost guarantee your erection quality will increase. If you want lasting results, you're going to have to pump and do cardio and work on your pelvic floor health and treat it as if this is a part of your lifestyle, having amazing erection quality. And if you take any kind of nicotine, potentially drink alcohol, cut it out, because that's all going to lead to like systemic inflammation. In nicotine's case and cigarettes, it's going to lead to chronic vasoconstriction, which is not good for erection quality. So there's a lot of things you can do to increase erection quality, but the easiest one is to get in shape and use a dick pump. Anthony, how do I stop the accordion effect with the head after pumping? I never heard it called the accordion effect. I'm assuming you mean like some kind of like imprinting on the glands, like they start folding in on itself. I only really get that when I'm wearing relatively tight underwear afterwards. So best case scenario is not to wear clothes afterwards for a bit. And then, yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing. I wouldn't really worry about it. It might not be visually appealing, but like if you get erect, it should, pop back out. Okay, Juan, is it possible to gain more than 1 inch in a year doing PE during puberty? Thanks for all of it. So I gained about 1.5 inches in about 14 months when I was between 16 and 17. Again, I don't recommend juveniles to play with their genitals the way we play with our genitals as adults. But I would say it probably helps, but I wouldn't bet the house on it. Now, the ranch hand. I'm in my 50s. I think after a year or two of 3 to 4 hours of the Peanut Master with mod tension 5 days a week, I've seen the plateau with no gains. Best way to break this barrier. So like if you've been doing PE for 3 to 4 years straight, you probably want to take a month or 2 off, and then you'll lose that strength adaptation that you build up. That's going to be the simplest way to make gains come back. Then I would actually potentially recommend getting a different device. I don't know exactly how much tension the Peanut Master can use, even with this mod, but like the Apex extender that I use can do upwards of 45 pounds of tension, right? And that's going to be better for like crazy fucks that won't actually use that much weight, but you have a lot more headroom to work with and use progressive overload tactics to get there. And then if you never used a penis pump, you have a lot of room for improvement with that as well. So like, first option, get a penis pump, add that in, 3 sets, 5 minutes to start. And then you can look at other stuff, particularly on this channel and the subreddit r/gettingbigger on how you want to implement it. And then get a different device that is not the Penia Master, particularly something that has either a proper compression mechanism or a proper vacuum hanging mechanism instead of whatever the Penia Master uses. Intelligent, do you have something between the motor and the skin? So like, I used to use like a sock, but like what I've been doing is pretend this baby powder is a pump, or my dick, maybe someday, but all I've been doing is I've been sticking this strap between the motor and the shaft, and then I wrap it like a sausage or a sushi roll or whatever. Obviously, if this was a normal size thing, I guess I have an energy drink right here. That would work better. Right, and then you just tuck it in there real nice, and that's it. So that way you don't have to worry about fussing with a silicone sleeve between it or anything else. And I guess it's just dick-telligent, not dick-intelligent. But anyway, yeah, 100 people on a fucking Wednesday at 3:30. What do you know? Oh, or is it Tuesday? But Flying Soup would like to tell you guys to like and subscribe. I just like you to turn in tomorrow, and so we can keep this streak going. But if you want to like it, go for it. MR86, what kind of diet do you suggest to maximize gain and recovery? So like, I think PE pairs very well with bodybuilding in general, but it doesn't really matter what diet you're taking as long as you get more than 75 grams of protein in you a day, because like the nutrient uptake of the penis, particularly the tunica albuginea, is so slow that it doesn't matter how much protein you really eat, you're not going to be able to overcome that nutrient bottleneck. So just make sure you eat particularly animal proteins, and that's just because I know you're going to get a full collagen amino complex, because like plants, while they have protein, they may not have collagen amino acid. You know what I'm saying? So that's the only thing I could really think about. And then I just think it pairs better with bodybuilding in general because it has a lot of the same tenets in it. Every day, grind, get your macros in, make it part of your lifestyle. So, I don't know. Hello, Destroyer. All right, guys, you got me for 8 minutes, so like I don't know exactly when I'll stop, but we'll go from there. Okay, we did that one. Tony, do you think edging has a use in PE? Not directly. It's going to be really good for sexual performance and erection quality, but like for actual tissue development, no. It's not going to really grow the dick. It's not going to stimulate the dick to grow. All you're going to really do is build up the endurance of the ischio-cavernous muscle. While it has its uses, it's not going to help with PE in general. So, Kenny, I seriously think porn has damaged my perception of how big I want to get to John Holmes' size, but I wonder if that's necessary. So, John Holmes was like real thin. Like, we're talking maybe 150 pounds soaking wet. So his really large dick is going to look a lot bigger on him than someone of a normal weight at his height. So like, 170, 180. And then this is something I just noticed, like with modern porn, they got a lot better with camera angles and such. So they can make a 7-inch dick look like 9 and an 8-inch dick look like 10. So like if you are that size, like an actual proper 8-inch dick is not going to look anything like it does in porn unless you literally have like a very petite woman to pair with you. So yeah, porn has literally fucked up every guy's perception in general. Okay, Xavier, 1.75 cylinder, but I think I should have gotten a 2.0, 5 and 1/8. Can I still make gains with it? I'm not laughing at this question, I'm laughing at the one below it. But yes, but you'd really want to get a 2.0 pretty fast. I'm sorry that you got the wrong size potentially. you will gain erection quality for sure. I just don't know if you'd be able to get like the expansion metrics necessary to see gains long term with it. Dashatorius, why is Twitter so toxic? Well, it really comes down to management at that point, right? I'm trying to think a good way to put it. I think all social media is inherently toxic. It just depends on what flavor of toxicity you like. For example, Instagram is very vain. TikTok is relatively ignorant. YouTube is a bit know-it-all. Reddit is extremely know-it-all. And then Twitter is just argumentative. So like it is just very easy to be anonymous and talk shit. So like that's it. It's just like pick your fucking sin at that point that you want to commit, and that's going to be the social media site that you use. So like every site has its problems. It's just Twitter is ran by someone who makes those problems worse. Okay, Okay. Happy Tuesday. With the weather getting cold, I've been getting back to cold plunging thoughts on that. I don't really see the purpose, if I'm being completely honest, because like all I gotta do is go outside with a shirt off, and like I'll get a lot of the same benefits. I could see it helping with inflammation, but I couldn't really see it helping much outside of that. Maybe some psychological benefits, because you know it fucking sucks being cold, and like it makes you like appreciate warmth more. That kind of, you know, psychology. You have to suffer to be happy or understand happiness, but it's not going to help PE. If anything, it's going to make PE less effective, because you're literally going to make your dick the size of an acorn. So why'd you have to say this, JD? Has anyone told you look like VP Vance? I am extremely, or like much more attractive than JD Vance will ever be. JD Vance is actually like from this area of Western Appalachia, and he wrote a hit piece on it, and that's why liberals started liking him, and then he turned shitheel. But anyway, no, I don't look like him. I would prefer you to say that I look like Basim before I look like JD Vance. Jackson, if women didn't like good physiques, they wouldn't be obsessed with Luigi. Malone, a lot of them just lie. Luigi has like that charm factor. Like, sure, he's ripped and all, but like you're not going to see that in a court case. And I don't think women lie that they don't like extremely muscular physiques. I just think people's perceptions of muscularity have changed so much in the past 20 to 30 years that what a normal healthy man's muscularity would be considered muscular in like early 2000s is nothing compared to the roid freaks that we have on Instagram and everything else. So let's see. Okay, answered Tony's. Let's see. No name. I have a theory that stretching you provide isn't done. The natural length isn't out due to improper physiology. More injuries happen because stretching only on partial of member. If you reword that, I could try to actually debate you. I'm not exactly sure what you're saying. Can you feel the fatigue during pumping, like a fatigue sensation? Not normally during pumping. I can definitely feel it during like vacuum hanging for sure. Okay, Robert. Gainathon people done any better with vibes than with traditional methods achieve? It's been a bit too early to tell. Like, one of the guys had severe pelvic floor issues, so it makes it a bit difficult with him. But both of the guys that were using vibrations gained a lot of girth with doing feeder sets. So like it's hard to tell if it's doing feeder sets or the vibrations that cause the extra girth gain. And I still need to check in with another guy to see what he's gained since then. But like, I will get an answer for this. Mark my words. How do you stay hard while pumping? You don't necessarily need to stay hard while pumping, Abe. It's just that you have to go and erect every time into the cylinder. that's what's going to make it easy to overexpand. So like I lately have been doing like just getting erect, and then when I'm pumping, I'm literally just like on YouTube or something like that, doing something else, because like the floodgates are open. You don't need to be aroused the entire time, just at the point of the start of overexpansion. How effective do you think tadalafil is at building muscle? Very mild effect, but I've heard one study says it can be as effective as low dose test, but that sounds like BS to me. It is most likely BS. It's probably a placebo more than anything else. Like I've taken Cialis, I've also taken testosterone. Cialis is nothing compared to real testosterone. Like properly dosed TRT is going to kick the shit out of Cialis in any regards. The only reason why Cialis has any use in bodybuilding is that it gives better pumps and better nutrient delivery. But like testosterone proper is what's telling the muscles to grow. All right, guys, it is 3:30. Any of these questions, save them for tomorrow. Now, tomorrow is going to be a bit of a shorter stream because I'm going to drive up to Cleveland with my dad to see the Thunder play the Cleveland Cavaliers. So if you turn to ESPN at 7 p.m., you might actually catch me on the screen, but I sincerely doubt it. But anyway, I will see you tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern, for a bit of a shorter stream than usual. But Thursday, back to normal. All right. Thanks for tuning in, guys.